Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Journaling Through Life Home Edition. Tonight's guest, I'm so excited, is Lisa. She graduated from Boston University with a degree in theoretical chemistry. At the moment, she lives with her chubby, her words, bulldog called Rowe, and her Instagram page is spectacular. As always, the links will be in the description. Lisa, how are you? How are things?
Everything couldn't be better. I mean, my goodness, aren't we living in just the best times right now? Everybody, give us all a hand. Woo! Who would have thought this a year ago? If you would have told me that would happen, I'd be like, pish posh, that is impossible. We live in a year beginning with a 2. How is this possible?
Isn't that the truth? Honestly, if you even told me in January this is where we'd be, I'd be like, really? Like, this is going to be fine.
You guys are crazy. This is a Band-Aid and some antiseptic problem. This is fine.
Exactly. And now I mentioned that today in where I live in the beautiful country of Canada, it snowed. So, I mean, nature is upside down. We're upside down. Everything is just all over the place. And I think at this point, we're just sort of going with the flow. So,
Right.
where are you located, Lisa? How are things there on the ground?
Well, I am located in sunny Florida, and where it's always 80 degrees and always tropical, and the scenery never changes. It's always palm trees. But yeah, so I'm kind of jealous if you can vibe that. I love snow, and I miss it from being up in Boston, and I love cooler air, and it's very humid here, and it's very tropical. And but we have nice cups. I don't know if you can see this. Paris, London, Tokyo, St. Pete. We're very proud of our bohemian lifestyle here.
I love it. That's eclectic at its best.
Right.
Oh, that's incredible. Well, Lisa, um, when we met on Instagram, which is awesome. And you are also part of that community of survivors. Would you mind taking a few minutes and just sharing your story with us?
Absolutely. So in December of 2016, I was diagnosed with breast cancer in my right breast, and it was stage 3B. So for people that aren't aware of what that is, it means that it invaded the lymph nodes. So they wanted to go ahead and tackle it immediately. And what happened was, like within a week, I was in, I had gotten all the testing done, the echocardiograms that they do and everything. I was in, started chemo right away, did the Red Devil and all of those that you've heard. I don't know if you've have you heard of the Red Devil, the chemo? It's terrible. It's oh, my eyes are watering. So it's it just takes you through this process of what it does. Is the chemo will actually kill all the cells because it can't differentiate between good and bad. So it goes in and it just steamrolls through all the cells, and that's for your own benefit, really, because you want it to get everything. Now, when you're going through that, it's quite shocking, because within a month or so, you lose your hair, you start to lose weight, you look in the mirror and things just aren't jiving anymore. You're starting to feel like this isn't right, but inside you're still alive and you're still there. And and then they just kind of take you through this journey of what you're supposed to be doing as far as treatments go. And they don't really tell you about, your mind, your body, your soul, what to be doing. So that you're kind of given some pamphlets, and the people there at the hospital are great too, and they're there as much as they can be for you. However, they have other patients as well. So here's some therapy groups, here's some books, we're going to get you through this as best as we can. Here's our surgical plan. This is what we're going to do. And you'll go home and you'll be like, what just happened to me? I just got hit by a truck, basically. And so immediately, and, not to kind of poo-poo, the medical community, but you're like, immediately like, oh my God, my life is in these people's hands, and it's just going to be like, you're a number. You're going to put on a bracelet when you go to the hospital, and you're going to, and I'm like, that's not going to work for me. That's not going to work for me. I'm going to have to create an environment, simulate synthetical happiness in order to get through this, and to do this in a way that's not just good for my body and to get rid of this cancer, but to also make sure that I come out of this with the least traumatic experience, the least emotional damage as I possibly can. So how am I going to do that? Well, conventional means, you see the brochures. They say, oh, we have therapy groups, we have counselors, we have all these tools for you. Well, that's fantastic. So you go, and in some places this really works for people. In some places you have large groups, and there's some really great counselors, and there's some really great literature, and these things work. However, what I was finding was just a lot of really scared, really confused people just like myself, having to go again to the hospital that we just left to go back to a therapy group. And everyone is kind of like, well, what are you doing? What have you heard? And we're all just feeding into each other's fears. I heard this was going to happen. I heard this was going to happen. No real facts, no real, anything to cling to, like a safety net. So I thought, well, that's not going to work for me. So I'm going to start reading some books, and having my background in theoretical chemistry. Basically, what we studied were chemical reactions, how you can synthesize a reaction in the brain to get it to work in a favorable way that you want it to. So we worked with a lot of athletes, people like that we could basically say, okay, how can we create an endorphin? Well, basically, how does the endorphin work once it's created? What is the stimulus that creates? Because your brain literally, you think dose. It's dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. And I thought, right now, I'm going, like, my gauge is totally broken to fear, from normalcy to fear so quickly. And so it's just stuck there. So what do I do? How do I get this gauge to kind of come back over and to live like a normal, peaceful life throughout this insanity that's going to be happening to me for the next few years? And I don't know, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to come out of this. I have to start being very mindful, very present, very in the moment, to create these chemicals that will allow myself to heal emotionally, to relieve the stress, to take it from me, so that the good kind of the endorphins, the oxytocin, the serotonin can take over and kind of love those cells that are starting to be attacked by the chemicals that they're pumping into me. So I thought, every day, breathe in this white light and breathe out white light too, because we're not only going to feed ourselves, but we're going to feed other people. Because what happens when you're alone and you synthesize happiness, great, you can do that. But when you're in a group, what happens? It magnifies. There is power in numbers. So I thought, if I can learn how to do this and learn to develop these little tricks to trick my brain into being happy, into a synthesized happy, then I can go ahead and I can teach other people this. I know it's a little ambitious, but I had some time on my hands, and I also didn't know what tomorrow was going to be. So I thought, well, if in reality, if I'm looking at, I've got 3 months, then why not make these next 3 months about building a community, about leaving a legacy, about teaching people that might have longer and might have more time to adopt this, and then maybe they'll reach more people, and maybe they'll reach more people. So your brain starts to think in that way. You start to see life through a different lens, and you see the value of that, and you see everyone in a different way, that these are all your brothers and sisters, and we're on a blue pebble hurtling through space. And the fact that we're even here is a miracle. So life is just about all the experiences and these wonderful, these things that are given to you. Everything's a gift. So how do you find a gift in a traumatic situation? And once that you find that gift in that traumatic situation, how do you choose to open it? How do you choose to spend it? How do you choose to share it? What do you do with it? And so all those things kind of come into play. And then, with that, I like to make people laugh because I think that's the quickest way to get the serotonin and the oxytocin pumping in the brain. So get them moving, get them laughing, get them doing this. So we started doing workshops where I get people up and get them dancing, get people up and get them snapping their hands and clapping and doing things. And here's these people that don't have the energy, but yet they're up and they look like John Travolta and they're just going. And I would say to them afterwards, I said, do you see? Your reality is exactly what you make it to be. If you get up every day and you tell yourself, I don't have the energy today. I can't do it mentally today. And you won't. But I just got you up. We just had a Fred Astaire moment. You're laughing, you're happy, you don't want to leave because you decided, you made a choice and your brain helped you with that. And I'm going to teach you how I just tricked your brain to make you think that you were happy. So that, you know what I mean? So people were coming back in the next days and they're like, I'm doing it at home. I'm doing it at home. And it's like, you can do it. And so then actually I started going to people's businesses too. They're like, you got to talk to my employees. I'm like, I don't know about all that. I'll try it on these corporate types. Not going to like me too much, but I'll try it. And it, so there's a way to incorporate that into everyday life as well. And I'm not the first one to discover it. I learned this through really great speakers and authors like Dan Gilbert and Peter Hollins, and even an astronaut named Scott Kelly who went up onto the International Space Station. He talks about it in his book Endurance, and so these are people. I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, and I was just able to take it into my little world and say, here's a silly Instagram page, and here's I'll come over and act like a clown for you, but you're going to take a big lesson from this, and so I can't really take the credit for it. I just knew that I had to do something to implement this and to get it going, and hope upon hope that people come out of it with a really big gift, for themselves. Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Lisa, for sharing that story. That is absolutely empowering. I was listening to you, and it's so interesting if you have a scientific mind on how you would perceive things differently, right?
Right.
Like you're saying, synthetically doing this, like, how do the cells really react? And I think sometimes it's nice to have that sort of separation from emotion to what is actually happening to your body. Although they are one, it does have a nice feel to it when you can say, well, my body is doing this, so I need my mind to be strong as sort of a foundation for my body to heal as well. I love that. And you mentioned, the laughing part of that. Now, you say you have the technique for that, and you don't have to do a spoiler alert, but if you can just touch base on what essentially it means, how people can utilize it now, because I think everybody is quite stressed and they might feel isolated as well for obvious reasons.
Well, and everyone has a different, everyone has different triggers, but what we all have is a 3-pound piece of hamburger between our ears. So we all share that in common. And what that brain does, that piece of meat, it releases chemicals. And what's really, really cool is we all have a prefrontal cortex. And that prefrontal cortex was given to us basically through evolution to avoid predators, okay? So it's an experience simulator. And so what this experience simulator does is it tells us, it gives us like kind of a message. So say, for example, something falls on me right now and it hits my arm and it really hurts. That is going to send a message to my prefrontal cortex, to my brain. And it's going to be like a same signal, just like getting eaten by a shark. It's the same signal. So whether it's, stubbing your toe, getting hit in the arm, getting eaten by a shark, you get the same signals from all of that. So what you can do during a stressful situation is you can be extremely mindful of your body. You can take a minute and you can feel what's happening, and you can thank your brain. You can literally go, okay, thank you, but the danger is not here. Bigfoot's not in the room. What we're talking about right now is something very minuscule, but thank you, thank your body, thank your mind. Thank you for alerting me to this. Now mommy's going to take control and we're going to get through this. And then your logic kind of comes out. Well, that means that you need to be able to release your serotonin. You need to be able to release your oxytocin, your dopamine, your endorphins are already there. They're already kicking. But now we need the happy stuff to come out. And really easy. And I know this is very cliche, but the first thing we have to do is we have to smile. It's very contagious. When your face moves and it comes up in a smile, whether you want to or not. Have you ever got caught up on traffic? Somebody cuts you off and you're like, I just love that person. You start to smile and start to laugh, and you do it, and it's kind of like, but you're just like incredulous and you're smiling. There's a reason why that's happening. Chemically, your brain is releasing that in you so that you don't go and you don't hurt yourself or hurt someone else. And so there is that to it. So that's the first thing. Now try telling that to a bunch of cancer patients sitting around. They just got a horrible diagnosis, right? So I'd be standing up there, I'm like, I can't just tell them, okay guys, now we're gonna go, we're gonna smile, we're gonna do this, right? I always say to them, in a moment like this, who here today how far along are you in your diagnosis? Who here today had a doctor's appointment? And everybody raised their hand, because they're probably still in the hospital that we're having the therapy group in. And I'd say, do you ever notice how your doctor, they make all this money, but if you look and you're watching them, their shirts maybe just got a little bit too much, like they're not paying attention. They got maybe a thread hanging there. Do you ever want to just go up there and just, as he's telling you, like, you've got this tumor, you just want to pull that thread, and people are starting to snicker, and I'm like, is it just me? And they're starting to smile, and then so we'd laugh and everything, and then somebody would always chime in, or whatever, but then people start to chitter, so you got to bring the crowd back. And I said, how does it feel to be mindful of a situation? I just presented to you a joke, in a way, a veiled joke that got your muscles and your cheeks moving, and you lost it for a minute. You forgot where you were for just one moment. And they go, and I'm like, now, the power, it was there with you. It was like Dorothy with the ruby slippers all along. If you just start to think about something stupid that happened to you today, whether it was you lost the cap to the toothpaste, or your dogs won't stop snoring like mine is right now, just something like that, and just get those muscles twitching just a little bit, and then just get in that moment, become that moment, be there in that office looking at that little tiny thread, be mindful of what your foot is doing right now, feel your face moving, anything that you can do, start to snap your fingers, but get moving, because moving releases good endorphins. So I would stop and I would say, okay, we'd split the group up, and I wouldn't even talk. I'd be like, okay, and I just point to the middle group, and I just start doing this, and inevitably they're like, and then they'd start going, and then somebody over here to left, I'd be like, nope, not you, you're not you yet, and then I'd point over to the right, and I'd start clapping, and they'd start clapping, so these guys are still snapping, so I'm like, no, and then I point over to the left and start stomping my feet, so they'd start stomping their feet, and everybody's laughing now. So I'm like, okay, fine, now I'm going to be the maestro. And I point over here and they clap. And I point over here and they snap. We get something going, and we feel like it's a crazy rock concert, and everybody's moving now and everybody's going, and then I'd stop it and they'd go, oh, and it was like, okay, for that moment, you were in it. You were mindful. You didn't even care if there was a premise, if there was a subject, if there was a topic. You wanted to escape. You wanted to put your cape on, and you wanted to fly out of yourself, and you did it, and you let yourself do it. So why don't you let yourself do it all the time when you need to? Because you have the power. Put your cape on, put your ruby shoes on, smile. And who cares if people think you're ridiculous? Because you know what? This is all about your experience on this planet. You are given the gift and the miracle of life for however long, from beginning to end. This is you. This is it. Whatever you believe, this is it. This is your reality. So why aren't people more mindful about making their experience about joy and about gratefulness and about mindfulness, because what it does to your body is magnificent. You're healthier, you're stronger, the people around you get healthier, the people around you get happier and stronger. You'll see a difference in your environment, you'll see a difference in your world completely. Why aren't you doing it? Because you're scared. So then on the second half of it, we go in. There she, oh, yeah, no, she's got to show her good side.
It's all good. It's all good.
Sometimes I just want to get big googly eyes and put them on there. She walk around.
That's your next video. That's your next laugh.
If she'll let me do it. She's 16. Can you believe it? She's 16 years old for a bulldog. I know.
That's all the good karma you have in your house, all the zen, all the beauty.
And she was my best friend through the whole thing, man. She wouldn't let anybody get near me. It was me and her. I had a few friends that were helping me. They would come and they'd pick me up for chemo, and we'd do all this stuff. And she'd go over and she'd sniff at him like, "This is my mom." And she was just all that. Now she doesn't want anything to do with me. She's like, "You're fine. Be off. Feed me and go away, woman. Go away."
Done my part. I've done my part. I'm tapping out.
I'm with you. But yeah, she's my little Buddha. She's something. Yeah, now she's gonna go back to sleep. There she goes. But yeah, so it's all, the power is always there. And I love that line in The Wizard of Oz. It's like, you could go home anytime you wanted to. And that's so true. You can use this to your advantage anytime you want to. You have to choose to do it. It's not a big secret. Everybody knows, here's a good point though. A lot of people would ask me, well, can I eat? Can I drink a beer? Can I do this? It's not the same thing. A synthesized happiness is a release of chemicals in your brain. So normal happiness, happiness that comes to you is when someone comes to you, "I love you," or "Here's a piece of chocolate," or something like that. That's making you ingest, or your environment is telling you, "Hey, you're safe, you're happy, this is okay." A synthesized happiness is an environment that you create in your brain to say, "My situation isn't that great, but I'm going to be happy. I choose to be happy." Dan Gilbert actually talks about a man that was in jail for 37 years. And in his 70s, he was exonerated through DNA testing. And they asked him about his experience. And he literally used the words, "It was glorious." Like it was some sort of spiritual enlightenment. But because he chose his happiness, and he chose to synthesize happiness in his life every day, he would get up and he'd be like, "Okay, this is the cards I was dealt. I'm going to make the best of it. This isn't going to define who I am, because I know who I am. I'm an innocent man, and one day, if even if I don't get let out, I'm going to make every day count, because this is my life." And that's an extreme, but that happens. Dan Gilbert also talks about people on Wall Street that have lost their careers, and they check back with them in 10 years and they're saying, "I couldn't be happier. I'm in a better financial place," all of these things, even though I was discredited in the media and all this. So, it's all about synthesizing. And I can't stress that enough, how important that is to kind of train your mind into understanding that, yeah, this situation isn't what you ordered. It wasn't on the menu when you went into the restaurant, but you can make this work for you. And you can turn this around in a way that you can find the good in it, take it and use it to help you through this situation. So that's kind of why I think it's so important for any traumatic experience, for any reason, whether it's an illness or maybe a marriage ending, or really, come over here. All right, mommy.
So good. Oh, but
It's
I love that. And it's so true, right? Like life is going to hand you what life's going to hand you. And we were chatting just briefly about that before we hit the record button of how important that mental health is when it comes to dealing with life events like this, like the COVID, like cancer, like anything that alters your normal.
right,
Right, like
right.
it's that foundational part, and it moves into every other part. Because I read some things, I'll be honest, I did some research on theoretical chemistry before we chatted. I'm like, this sounds fascinating, I should like find out what it's all about. Right.
Yeah.
and and it's so interesting just to see, you know, how certain things work together, what the reactions are. And I think there's so much from science that we can apply, because in this time too, I find that people are connecting to themselves in a different way, in a way that we've never connected to ourselves. So like you said, you know, you have that power within you, but how to really connect to it, right?
Right, right, exactly. And I think that we go through our routines through life. You know, you're born. You've got about 5 good years before you're sold to a school for 18 to 28 years, depending on how far you want to go with your degree. Some people get right into the workforce. Then we're told families, we're told other things through our environment, what we learn through our ancestors, what we learn through our friend circles. We do all of these things. How often do we really stop to think? And I'm going to use a term here because I really love this term. A lot of people go through midlife crises, right? And basically what that is all of a sudden you wake up one day and you go, oh, whoa, all those years are behind me. What just happened? Well, what just happened basically was what you had to do, right? Because you had to get an education, you had to make friends, you had to, form relationships, and you ended up on the part of the game board where you chose to land, but you don't remember getting there. So that's interesting to me because what a traumatic experience does, like COVID, like cancer, like a divorce, like all of these things, what that does is it puts you on that piece on that game board, and all of a sudden you've got a glass case around you and you can't move. It forces you to look at your environment, look behind you, look where you'd like to go, and look around you. And it forces you to really take stock. Some people decide that that's too much, and that's where anxiety, depression, that's where all of these things come in, because all of a sudden now you're trapped in your head and you have to have this dialogue with yourself, a very honest, direct dialogue. But listen, that's not scary, because who else can you talk to in such a frank and honest way but yourself, really? So, maybe you won't want to hear the things that you have to say to yourself, but you're your own best friend. You're only saying it for your own benefit. David Goggins, he's a Navy SEAL, and he's one of my favorite people. He likes to talk about himself in is it third person or first person? I always get that messed up when you say your name. I think it's your third person, right?
Yes, that would be the third person, as
Yeah.
in Christine did this the other day, and Christine decided this is a great idea.
We're good at English literature and all that. It's like I can read it, but so he talks like that. He's like, okay, David wakes up this morning and David decides that David's going to go and he's going to work out till noon, and David's going to. He talks like that. And what's interesting about it is what he's doing is he's emotionally distancing himself from the situation so that the emotion doesn't play into it, but he gets the benefit of the reward from it. It's almost like you become your own parent in a situation. So you should try it sometime. It's kind of fun. I started doing it, and my friends were like, we always knew there's a screw to lose, but now, it's like, Lisa wants a cheeseburger. Come on. It's like, heck yeah, but if you do it, it's interesting, because if you're forced to have a situation where you're sitting down and you're reevaluating, and we've got all this time now with COVID, right? We're all socially distancing. We're all, quarantining as best as we can. We're all doing these things for the benefit not only of ourselves, but of others. But if you sit down now and you have a quiet moment, don't fill it with noise, with the background of the television, with unnecessary, things going on around you. Really sit down and be mindful and say, what does, insert your name here, need right now to to have a, um, kind of a healthier future. Yeah, I kind of I hesitate there because I don't want people to all of a sudden say, "Oh gosh, here we go. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" It's nothing like that. It's not like that. It's more like, where do you see yourself to get to a comfortable place? Can be tomorrow, can be right now. What does Lisa need? What does Christine need right now to get to a comfortable place? And as soon as you emotionally distance yourself from the situation like that, and I'm not saying take yourself out of the situation, I'm not saying anything in a negative or unhealthy way, like, oh, don't even think about, this just completely, be delusional and all. No, this actually puts you in a better spot to make more healthy decisions in a less emotional way, in a more pragmatic manner, so that you can digest these problems in bite-sized chunks, so it's not so overwhelming, so it doesn't come down on you. And I mean, Navy SEALs use it all the time. That's why I love Navy SEALs, because they're just machines. They're like, "Oh, I'll deal with it later," but they're so emotionally healthy at times that, at least the ones that I've met, and just heroes of mine. So if anybody ever wants to check out a really healthy, individual, David, Goggins, and he's everywhere on social media. That guy is just, talk about somebody that just has his life together. I mean, really. So, anyways, I hate to go on like that, but it's so true.
It is. And when I was listening to you, it's very similar to what journaling does, right? It creates that emotional distance from what you are feeling, because technically you are writing sort of as a third person. And then when you read it back to yourself, you're like, oh, right. Like now you can like sort of edit yourself or edit your own work and be like, yeah, this is a really smart idea. Maybe I should change this. So it does create that distance. But I like that compartmentalization as well, where our emotions at any point in time can be so overwhelming. And I think that is the crux of the matter for most people right now. There's just too much going on. There's just so much. So to really, in very scientific and pragmatic terms, like you say, compartmentalize, because I have some connections in the military as well, and that's what they have to do. You have to
Right.
get the job done right now, and then you can deal with it later emotionally on to get to a better place. So it's
Mhm.
funny, that whole military mindset, but it's a very healthy one if you're dealing with crisis. You can't
Right.
deal with that all the time, because that's not, a healthy way to live every day like that. But we're
Right.
in crisis mode. So we
Right.
have to think of different strategies on how we can be better now. It's not
And
going to be
that's
forever.
an excellent point. That's excellent, because these principles can be used in every day, yes, but they're really the most helpful and beneficial when you are in crisis mode. Absolutely. Because, I mean, you don't necessarily need the big tools. Say, for example, you're building a house. When you're pouring the foundation, that's when the cement trucks come out. Those are when the big jackhammers come out, the big power tools, right? But when the house is already built and you just have to hang pictures, you just really only need a little hammer. You might need a level. You might need a brush for the paint. You're not in there jackhammering walls anymore. You're hanging pictures now. So build your foundation with the big tools, use them, and always know that that cement truck is, a call away, that jackhammer is a call away. But right now, let's get, like, what does Lisa need right now to go ahead and hang the picture? We've already built the foundation. What do they need right now? Emotionally distance yourself from that, see it in your head, become that, and then do it in a pragmatic, logical, calm, sane way. And it's amazing how you can just kind of pull that tool. Now you have that, and you have the ability to do that if you choose to do it. It's right there for you. And easier said than done, is, I hear that a lot, but it's all about practice. You can't pick up a violin the first day and play a symphony. You're going to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star for about a year, right? So that's how all of these things work as well, because your brain goes, you never made me release this chemical before. What are you trying to do now? I'm in control here. And you're like, okay. And you have to like learn how that's a thing too. So that's an excellent point. And you're right about the journaling too, because don't you have to wear different hats in journaling? You really do, right? You're an editor, you're the writer, you're the artist that dreams it up, you're everything. But you can't wear all the hats at the same time because those hats don't communicate with each other. So you have to take one off, and you do that naturally, don't you? Without even thinking about it. But when the time comes, and you're sitting there, and the telly's going, and you know that you've got this paper, and you've got to edit it. All of a sudden, what happens is like, I don't want to, because your brain is in a good place and it wants to be vegetating. It wants to do this and everything. You have to kind of trick your brain into going, you want to, you want to go over there and do that because we have fun doing that, don't we? And then your brain's like this little kid, me too. We have fun doing that. And you have to try and get it out the door. That's the easier said than done part. Everything else though is practice, practice, practice. And after a while, your brain realizes, hey, we're friends. I'll let you do this. This is okay. This feels good. I trust you now with these chemicals. Have fun.
I love that. I'm so going to use that now. If you do not want to journal, your brain will be happy. You're going to be friends. It's going to make sense. Just try it.
Yeah.
For sure. And I was thinking, I love that analogy of the house and the foundation. And now we have a very special moment in history where we can decide what our foundation will be. So back to your original point of what do you need now? Not that 5-year plan, not whatever. When we get out of this, we can start the jackhammering. We can start building things new. And, what do you want that to look like? And it's an exciting thing. I don't think it should necessarily be depressing or sad or get trapped in all these sort of spiraling emotions. We
Mhm.
always say every emotion has validity. You just need to find the message, but you can't keep dwelling in it. So, like you say, switch your brain. Say, this is exciting. Let's build a house. What do we want it to look like?
When will we have this time again? To build this house. When will we have this time again to find? And what's interesting? I really think that when this is all said and done, I think we're going to come into, I think, a calmer, more gentler world where people are really in tune with themselves. And they're like, you know what? We all experience this together. Isn't that kind of cool? Because usually we go through traumatic experience individually, compartmentalized, right? And so now we're all experiencing the same thing. That unites people, just like any major, like a hurricane, anything that's just traumatic that touches the lives of a huge group. This is global. This this has never been done in our lifetime. This is, I think, they were talking about San Francisco in 1922 that this happened, you know, and it, like 100 years ago, and how fickle we were. We went through all of this, and now all of a sudden, our generation gets to experience a global kind of a unity through. Yeah, it's going to have to be trauma because you know what? We're just walking shaved apes still through our evolutionary chain. We're still very young on this planet. This planet is however many years it is, but we're a very small blip on it. So yeah, it's going to have to be something that hits like a big shovel that hits us in the head to make us learn anything. Sorry guys, but that's the way it is, you know. But here we are, and we're experiencing this, and I wouldn't be surprised that from this, when you're in an airport next time, or when you're in traffic next time, you look over, maybe somebody might more freely smile at you now, or maybe you might, and that person from that will go, wow, you know, maybe I'm feeling better about myself today too. I noticed it at the grocery store because everyone, you still have to wear a mask, and you still have to wear the gloves, and they still kind of distance you. There's only 25 people that are allowed to go in at a time at the grocery store down the street from me. So, you know, you wait, and you're very polite, and people are very, when this first came out, that was not the case. People were just like, you know, but now everybody kind of gets it. They're kind of doing it. We're kind of like all, you know, a little bit more calm, more peaceful, more loving towards each other. It's kinder, it's more gentle, it's sweet. So as a society, as a global community, I think we're moving in that direction. And I hope it lasts. And I hope people really take away from this so that the next generation doesn't necessarily forget. And we teach this kindness and this unity to as many people as we can through our own understanding and our own, because really, why are we being, why go through a lesson? Why go through such a fundamental experience and not use it to create joy and happiness and peace in your life and around the people around you, in the lives of the people around you, because isn't that a nicer way to live, by taking the good out of every situation? So why not, grasp it and go, this is it, and like, let's play with this, and this is fun, and this is great, guys, and we're going to learn from this, and science is going to come out, and we're going to have another cure for, a vaccine for this eventually, because come on, we will, and so there's nothing but good that can come out of it. And I understand that, we're not talking necessarily about the livelihoods, and I understand that people are going through some hardships right now, and that is definitely something you can't just smile away, and that's definitely something that you can't just laugh away. Those are real issues. People have to eat, they have to make money. I get that, so that will be interesting to see what comes from that as well, and the lessons that we can learn. So the people that are suffering from that and going through those things, maybe they can sit down and say, geez, I lost my income. I'm in some really hard straits. When I get out of this, on the other end of it, where would I like to see myself? Where would I like to be? Well, obviously, you'd like to have your house. You want to be able to eat. You want to have a job that in the future isn't going to put you in jeopardy. All these first responders out there, like risking their lives every day, that are going through, this. People that can't go to work, hairdressers, people that have lost the waitress, the waiting staffs and things like that. So out of this, maybe they can say, hey, I got an idea. If this ever happened again, we could try this, this, and this, or I could go in this direction, or I can do this. So take it and use it to your benefit, to learn from it, and to teach other people some of the things that you thought of throughout this, to maybe in the future, if God forbid this ever happened again or something, we'll be prepared, and it'll be your idea that brought us out of this, because you as the first responder, you as the hospitality worker, you as this, were in the front lines, and you brought some really good ideas to the table to ensure that you and future generations don't have to suffer like you did, and to bring yourselves out of it. So that's what I'm kind of hoping for, is these people that are really suffering right now are the ones like I did when I had my cancer, the ones that kind of come out of it and go, hey guys, guess what? I have an idea, and I'm not going to let you suffer anymore, or anybody suffer anymore, because I know what that shock was like, and I know what that felt like. So moving forward, here's some ideas. Use them if you want to, or don't. That's okay. But I can't sleep tonight if I don't know that I put this out there for you to learn this. So that's kind of where and I hope we get from this, and I hope that our government strengthens from this. I hope that the global environment politically strengthens from this. I hope that we see some good things. Will it be perfect? Probably not. I don't think anything ever will be. But, maybe, through, I love how that we're so connected now through technology, and maybe now this is a new wave. Maybe now we'll start to see, through everything, what's that song, Turn, 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 right? Yeah, and there's a season and a reason for things. So through this, I'm hoping that there's just nothing but good that comes from it.
I completely agree. And especially like how you say like that ideas and the people, write them down, write them down. Like it's not only going to give you peace of mind to be able to go to bed at night and say, I have a plan. Because I think a lot of the anxiety and a lot of these is because you have really nowhere to go. Like physically we have nowhere to go, but also mentally create that space for yourself mentally to say, what is my action plan here? What can I do? What can I share with the world? Like you said, whether they take it or not, that's sort of besides the point, because you've put yourself out there, you've given your creativity to the world, and you're contributing to the conversation and the solutions, right?
Right. And I think, with your audience and with the audience that I have, these are people that are searching for something better. These are not necessarily people that are satisfied with sitting in the mud and not wanting to share their toys. The people that we've created around us want to share toys and want to play. And they're just, these are those bright rays of light. And these are again, that's how you build a community is you make your environment around you by what is radiating out of you, right? So and I know a lot of people have told me, and I did mention this before, but I've known you on Instagram now for a long time, really. And I've always followed you, and always thought, here's somebody that's really special, that just radiates. She lives what she practices, and this is genuine, and this is sincere, and here's this beautiful person. And it's like, if you think about it, yeah, these are, you can scroll through all of your friends on there, and these are your people. This is your, tribe. This is the community that you built for yourself because of your example, So yeah, I think
You.
that, yeah, I think that you're going to make a huge difference in this kind of environment just by, being genuine and sincere, and showing people, hey, you guys, I love to journal. I love this because it's not just about the books, and it's not about the feeling of it. It's about the spiritual connection that you make, not only with other people, but within yourself. It's the coolest feeling. Yeah, it's power. Yeah.
Aw. Well, thank you so much for that, Lisa. Heart, heart.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, on a final note, then, you are also so empowering. And you said, like, before, you were speaking to groups, and maybe virtually could be a thing in the future. What are your plans? What would work for Lisa, and how to support this community?
Well, what Lisa would like to do is, I want to go and I want to travel more, and I want to spread the message around about how to synthesize that happiness, how to get it going, how to change a situation with mindful attempts, and how to bring that to light. So right now, obviously, we can't do a lot. I can't go a lot of places. Last year, I was somewhere different every weekend, which was really nice, speaking to people. But obviously, not with this. It's a little bit harder to get the Zoom going, with people that are, because I deal a lot with cancer patients. So a lot of these people are going through treatments, and it's not. No one wants to be on Zoom and have if we're like 3 o'clock over here in California and they're going through a treatment and nobody wants to have the phone on. It's okay. It's more of like that controlled environment of going to a place, everyone coming at a certain time or whatever. But then I was thinking, I'm like, well, maybe I can make it so it's a little bit more convenient for people. So those are things that I'm kind of thinking about now, because once this comes back around and I am able to travel, maybe there are people that are with low immunity that would have preferred we do this. So I can start to kind of, tell people, hey, what do you prefer? We can do it this way. We can try. So trying new ways to meet with people and to bring these groups together and to teach these practices. That's kind of my goal, to bring that into my immediate future. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And we will put your Instagram handle in the description, and everything that, Lisa's done, and what Lisa stands for, including a whole list of books, which is also fantastic. I love another bookworm.
Yay! We'll have a book club. We should start a book club.
We should. That's awesome. Oh, well, Lisa, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your contribution. It is invaluable. People appreciate you, and we are really stronger together.
We are. And thank you. Again, I've been a huge admirer of yours for a very long time. So when you reached out to me, I was more than thrilled, and just so glad that we can connect in this way. So thank you so much for the opportunity. I appreciate it. Christine.
Oh, you're so welcome. And again, those silver linings, right? If we weren't in this position, all of the beautiful people we might not have met otherwise.
Absolutely. Yes.
Well, Lisa, thank you so much. Take care, stay safe, and give big hugs to Ruby.
I will. Well, see you later. Thank you.
If you received a breast cancer diagnosis, we have a guided journal specially for you. Find it at journalingthrough.life and start your journey of recovery, healing, happiness, and love. Keep journaling and keep growing.